All right, so let's get started. Obviously, if you're Team B, keep working on those stairs, right? But if you want to know a little bit more about modeling, I definitely want to cover that a little bit. And seriously, my Team A guys, this is your chance to like, hey, how do you do this, right? Um, just because, I don't know, in my head, it's like so obvious just because I know this program. But, put me on the spot, right? If you want to learn how to make an I-beam, let's do it. But in my case, I do want to go over several just different minute things that you just might run into as you're designing this, as you're starting to formulate the mass, and possibly be inspired by your previous abstract model, right? So I do have a volunteer today. Thank you, Matt, for volunteering his exercise 3 little abstract project. And I basically just went ahead and put it on the site, right? And I just wanted to further go over just stuff that we run into in architecture. Let's face it, I can't teach you all of architecture in 10 weeks or how to model it in 10 weeks, but I can give some basic tools of like, how would you develop that? How would you start to model it? Even though other computer programs, we now catalog it a little bit. And you'll learn that, especially when I start going over Revit, that we don't model a window in Revit. We go find one and we apply it to our model. Technically, you could do that in Rhino, but often you'll have like a window that seems absolutely finished, and yet the rest of the project looks unfinished and looks like it was pulled out of a catalog. So in order to avoid that, I usually just say we do it by hand, even though I know that's not really a thing in the digital world. I say we do it manually, right? So we model things manually. Um, Although I forgot to show you guys some really useful tricks in terms of other modeling. So for instance, some of you guys, when we make a site model, we want the sidewalks, we want the roads and things like this, or even the boundary lines imprinted onto the pieces that we want to laser cut. So for instance, I have my boundary of my site right here, and theoretically speaking, I could have my streets, my sidewalks, my anything, right? So essentially what's kind of nice is we have this ability to project onto other things. So for instance, if I take this curve and I type in project or project, and I choose what I want to project it onto, so say my site, enter, you'll notice that I immediately get this on every single sheet. And what's really nice about that is, well, now I have a perfect line that meets the contours of whatever. So, I mean, where it gets really cool is where, I don't know, you have something that's a very irregular shape. So let's get like a sphere. And if you have like a very unique shape, so for instance, maybe it's like, I don't know, something like this, and you're like, man, how does that go from flat onto this ball, right? Very weird shape. So let's get them at least close to each other. I'll make it a little bit smaller so we can kind of see what goes on. But essentially we can project it. So if we project onto the shape, it's going to immediately get every part of that shape. I don't know about you, but that is way easier than trying to draw that shape, right? And remarkably, I mean, I could even then further be inspired by this shape even, and start to turn it in and develop it into a surface or use it to subtract in some way. I don't know, right? But anyway, entirely more useful. Now that obviously doesn't come up a whole lot, but projecting onto a topography surface arguably comes up every single project, right? So again, didn't want to leave that tool out just because it's entirely useful, especially when you need something like that, right? Going from one piece to another, as you can see in that curve. Now it's going to actually guide it. It won't really, you'll see that it actually goes around this entire object. So if I wanted to avoid that, let me go back a few steps and unproject that. I actually want to put these together first. So if I actually Boolean union them, and then I project, so we'll take this, project, onto this now one object, it'll essentially only put it at the top and the bottom now, right? Because it's just that one object. You saw kind of the first time it kind of did every single layer, and that's because there is a top and a bottom to every single one of those layers. But if I wanted to simplify it and actually just get the curve that is basically manipulated, that is basically how we do it. Making some sense? Hopefully useful. This definitely comes more useful when you got a lot of topography, right? In our case, we only have 1 or 2 steps, so there's not really a huge inflection there. And to be fair, that would be something I want to do with my sidewalks or, again, my roads, or maybe even other entourage that are involved. But I did want to kind of go over just kind of the method, right? I know I kind of just say, hey, take an abstract model, turn it into architecture, and there's honestly a big question mark there, right? So we want to use this model to be inspired from, but then we also want to turn it into elements that actually make architectural sense. So for instance, Matt has actually made some I-beams, so that actually kind of works out for us. It's already kind of architectural. However, something like this could be a lot of different things. It could be a wall, a vertical wall, it could be the beginning of a volume, it could be a lot of things. So what's kind of nice about this is we can isolate certain things. We can take these pieces out, we can put them back in. In his case, they are layered, so that is really nice. In terms of organization, we can start to turn some of those beams off or those elements. So in my case, I'd probably want to go one element at a time. Right? In my case, I'm going to stick to the vertical walls first and see if I can manipulate those. Can I use them? I mean, that's a pretty interesting part. That's a pretty interesting part. Right? In my case, I could start to Boolean union something, put them together, and perhaps make an entirely new shape out of it. So for instance, it's looking a little disjointed, and that's okay, right? I mean, let's make it into something new. So for instance, I could take a box, typing in box, quite literally take 2 points and the extents of that box, and basically make a new box. And say maybe that's my vertical component. Maybe I start to even get rid of other components based on that, like I've already been influenced by this one, and maybe I even, I don't know, subtract from it or wire cut from it or what have you. But again, massing model first. So I'm essentially taking each piece and turning it into something else. I'll take another box, I don't know, fake it till I make it. Pretty interesting. And again, so I may have to re-abstract into something, I may have to translate it into something that's now not just abstract wall or vertical plane, but maybe start to think volume or subtraction. That's a pretty hard piece to work with, but it may become something, so I'll keep it around, maybe hide it for now. But realistically, I'm starting to see some space here, right? I'm starting to see another space here. And by all means, that's what I mean by being inspired from. It doesn't have to be the exact piece that you came up with, right? So for something like this, pretty sweet. I'm just gonna go all the way to the bottom. I'm looking a little tall here. And well, technically, I guess I could do 2 things. I can either raise all of this up or bring all of it down. But in my case, I'll just bring it up. Just because I know I have some other layers in there that I have turned off. Alright, but further being inspired. So we'll hide that one today. We don't necessarily need all the grids, and you know, in fact, I could even start to manipulate these grids. Really pull them out. Get fancy with the spices. I kind of want to do that all at the same time though, just because there's a lot going on. And of course, Matthew knows his model better than me learning it today, doing it on the fly, but you know, definitely appreciative. I didn't want to have to build a whole model just to kind of get this point across. That you can take your sculpture and manipulate it further. And again, you can actually change it completely if you'd like. But for instance, we don't have to start afresh. But we can, right? And very often we feel inclined to as well. Especially if things just aren't working out. In my case, I'm taking each piece and then I'm just going to use gumball. Make them a little bit longer. I'm looking for that green one, and usually it goes to the extents. Where the hell is it? This is a bad day to pick green. Damn, where'd I put it? Oh, I see this one, the red. Very often it's to the extent of the object.
Oh, I see it right there.
Oh, where is it?
Right there. To the right. Oh, yeah, keep going right there.
There it is, thank you, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to make that longer. But again, as you can see, choosing the colors isn't always great. But again, I can make it something new. I could even copy it. For instance, maybe I'm thinking this is my entry in some way. Maybe I want you to go into some sort of space, followed by the art supply. And maybe that just gets a little bit bigger. Maybe I use some of my modeling tools and just make that bigger. Interesting. So what I'm saying is almost like make a new abstract model, but now one based on the program. One that now makes sense to your square footage, your area, which is another tool that we can use. So for instance, if I have a rectangle and you accidentally draw it too low, that's okay. Keep in mind, it'll always go to that C-plane, which I also forgot to mention. If you type in C-plane, you can move that thing around. So just in case, you're starting to get really full and it keeps making everything at the origin point, we can actually move the origin point. So if I type in C-plane and I go to world, I can really actually reset this based on, especially if I accidentally change the direction of my C-plane, which does happen a lot. You can also change where it is. So by default, if I just type in C-plane, it's like, hey, where do you want the 0 point? And that's really useful, especially if I'm drawing in a very specific location. So for instance, maybe I want to line it up with my architecture itself. Now, it's not going to hit a direct point, I don't think. It does. That's great. It did not used to do that. But I kind of want to find a point that's actually inside here. So I may need to go to an X-ray and maybe select that as my 0 point. And again, my C-plane is now moved to this location. I don't know who needs to hear that, but you can also flip it too. So C-plane, and I could set it to, say, the world, and say I want the left, right? And so it does default and go back. But again, like say I wanted to really minutely draw something in elevation, I would just move my C-plane to that location. That way I can draw, and it makes it easier. I know by default, if I go into this view and I start drawing, that it's essentially going to draw within that plane. Now it's not going to show it directly as it shows it right here, because the C-plane isn't something that's like actually there. It's a construct. But now when I draw this piece, it should actually be here, but it's not. What the hell? I guess it defaulted back. Maybe we actually have to change it in this viewport. I may have misspoke. Okay, so now the C-plane's there. Let's see if we draw again. Man, it still goes over there. So, I misspoke.
No, it went where you wanted.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, yo, sweet. Yeah, it did. It just accidentally clicked on one of the lines. Well, good deal. But yeah, as you can see, OSnap still has some power. But again, I think a lot of use, especially when you're getting into the minute details, which we're gonna do a little bit today when we do windows and doors. But let's reset that. I'll go back to world. I'll select top view and just basically put it back to where it was. In my case, I do think it is viewer specific. So as you can see, if you change one, it doesn't necessarily change the other. So just be aware of the C-plane. It's kind of a monster in itself, and as you can see, it has a lot of different options. I do believe you can actually just reset it in general, but don't know where that is actually. Kind of want to set it back to my top. I feel like I lost it. Where'd it go? Maybe hidden. C-plane. Another thing that stinks about the C-plane is you can't just Command Z it. It doesn't actually, it's not a command, it's like it's not even there, right? It really is just kind of a grid system in order to understand where our piece is. But perhaps I shouldn't have moved it today with such confidence, but that's all right. You can actually move it directly to the view. That's weird. I learn something new every day. I didn't know I could do that. So in my case, I wonder if I could do that here. Changing our C-plane, going to the view itself. Nice. Well, that is super convenient. Not gonna lie. I could use that for sure. In my case, you can also set a 3-point. Nice. So we can directly go, well, I want it to be here, here, and there. So that's kind of nice. Again, just wanted to go over some of those things. Just because they often kind of get like, hey, you learned this for years, and then you're like, what is that thing even that I'm drawing on? But it is also known as our C-plane. Anyway, continuing on, let's say, I have my masses, I got some structure involved. Now, maybe obviously some of this stuff, it's like, well, I'm not really using it, so I'll start to get rid of it, right, if it's not being used. Dang, Matthew. They're all separated. It's alright, he didn't know. Right, but essentially all of these are like separate little planes. Be careful. You want to take those, very dangerous living. And they're all open, so I definitely want to cap them and make them solid. And then of course Boolean union them, that way it's a solid object. Anyway, that's okay. But the next thing, obviously, let's say, you know, I'm starting to get some spaces, I'm starting to get some ideas. Maybe that's a space, maybe this is a courtyard of some kind, maybe I actually go upstairs, and maybe we actually use this space as well. So, I don't know, maybe I need another box up there. Copy. Now, I accidentally took the wall, so keep in mind, you probably want a separate layer, by the way, right, of abstract. And in fact, you can even group something together first. Let's get rid of this guy. That was for the projection. You can also group something, right? That way you can kind of keep it as one abstract group and one sort of new abstract model, if you will. But another thing is we can take this piece. I don't know, I'm feeling inspired, so I kind of want to make a second floor. Separate view. I'll take that piece up here. And shape it as necessary. And again, I'm just kind of, you know, modeling it fakely until we get somewhere. But yeah, starting to look like a building-ish, right? Maybe I get some of these masses together, I'm not sure. Alright. Not too shabby. Right, obviously some superfluous things that we don't really need, and perhaps these are too low, so we can, of course, raise them up to a certain degree or level. Another way that to look at this too is, you know, you don't have to work always on the site as well. You can kind of work off-site and offset some spaces. Like, for instance, if I knew I wanted 12-foot ceiling heights, I could do that. I know that my floor is maybe 2 to 4 feet thick, so I'm going to go and offset that as well, 24 inches. And maybe offset again, 12 feet, again, to kind of get a second floor. So I don't necessarily have to work in a vacuum, if you will. Or, sorry, on the site, if you will. I can kind of figure those things out first and then essentially overlay them and go, okay, well, there's my bottom floor. Oh, okay, I do need to kind of raise that up. So in my case, I'm going to group that and lock it. That way I don't really move it. That way I can get other pieces. Right? We'll put that in our floor, if you will. And again, it's a very abstract model. It's not a finished thing. It's got a wild roof, and that's okay. But yeah, now I can actually make some sense of it, right? Knowing that I have certain heights. I could also use dimensions as well. But again, just some sort of level, right? That way I can understand what's going on, at least in terms of the dimension of my project. Yeah, it's looking a little high. Sweet. Get some walls in there. Kind of like it. It's got a fin. I don't know, maybe there's a balcony area up here. I'm not sure. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Can turn some more layers on, see if further stuff to be inspired by. Alright, we got some columns that potentially hold that up. And we got some columns over there that potentially hold that up. Let's take them. In my case, I just need to lock this guy down because I keep trying to move it. Let's lock him down. There we go. Now it's feeling solidified. But yeah, now if I try and select something, it doesn't get the stuff in the background. So something like that. Maybe that goes up here. Maybe we get a copy. And fake it till we make it. Now, we could lock these in. Right? You could take the exact moment or the intersection of them, or apparent intersection, and hold shift and get another apparent intersection. But sometimes easier said than done, as you can see. Ah, so close. It's alright. Fake it till we make it. Dang. Does not want to line that up.
Let's snap it.
It's snapping, but it's snapping to everything in the world. There we go. Not too shabby. But it's getting somewhere, right? If I wanted to start thinking about some space or even a foundation, I could start to do so, right? So from here, what might be the best way? Well, in our case, I guess it's okay. It's all flat. So I could just get a make 2D, but I want to show you some useful things too, because it's not always flat. We don't always build on a flat surface, that's for sure.
Maybe move it a little bit down.
Yeah, we could. Let's do that. Good thinking. Take that. All right. Got some useful stuff right there. A little bit of an edge. But as you can see, it is starting to get spatial. I can start to get in there. And there's this idea of space. Now what's great is that it entirely came from an abstract model, right? That we just re-proportioned. We saw the potential in some of those point lines and planes, if you will, or those volumes. Now a way that you can actually make this a little bit more voluminous. Oh, I'm stuck in a command. Why won't you let me click you? There we go. We can get some spaces out of it. So for instance, you can imagine we've already used these tools before, but for instance, we'll take that piece. Man, I'm getting like every single piece in there. There we go. However, it only works flat in that view, so there we go. Make sure you're on the right one, of course. Nice. Did I hit the same point twice? Gosh dang it. It's okay. I'll take that one. Oh, I'm backwards. That's why. Cool. Cool. There we go. But now we can take something like this and use it to wire cut. So in my case, I'm just making it slightly smaller and basically cutting it out. Honestly, you can select as many pieces as you want. Well, we can make a volume. I really got to get out of this ghosted view, that's why. Be very careful in ghosted and X-ray because it will select the points through an object too. That's why I was struggling a little bit. Kind of glad because it kind of shows you just, you know, I mess up too, and you can run into all kinds of errors. And holy crap, I mean, a lot of potential in there. Honestly, a pretty unique space. But as you can see, almost like too much space, or sorry, too much mass. So I don't know, that's potentially a window. All right. Definitely not too bad there. Another thing that we can do, of course, to make some space is quite literally take the exact same object, copy, put it in the same exact place. That way you essentially have two of them. And basically offset a little bit in. Now you can just type in offset, but I mean another way is just to make it a little bit smaller and Boolean difference the two objects. So for instance, now that I have an object inside that is a perfect copy and dimension of the other, well, now I can take the object that I want to subtract from, so Boolean split, the part that I do want to split it with, sometimes you gotta select both, and enter, and I should be able to take this piece out. Oh, may have taken the wrong one. Oh, took the wrong one. That's okay. Unfortunately, there's no great way to look at this unless you get into that mode. I think there is actually a keyboard shortcut for ghosted mode, but I do not know of it. If you find it, let me know. But that looks like the piece that we need. Boop. I don't know, I've got several. I think that's the one. There we go. Let's go back into rendered mode is sometimes kind of nice just because there is some shade and shadow and there's a lot more identifiers and cues about what's going on. Oh man, I keep getting rid of the piece that I need. It's okay. As you can see, the struggle is real. I keep getting rid of the wrong one.
Hey, what happened to the bottom of those I-beams? Just the bottom of them?
What is that?
What happened to the bottom of those I-beams?
They are open.
No, the other one. Yeah, right there.
Oh, these right here. It looks like they got shifted. And that's the dangers of open I-beams, right? It's okay. Let's continue.
Oh,
But let's nail that, man. I do want to nail it. It's in there. Here, let's pull it out. Ooh. See what's going on. There's the piece I want. So, I mean, a unique trick that we can do is actually just knowing the distance. So, for instance, if I move this piece, and let's go 100 feet. Something that you just know that you have, right? And you can get rid of the piece that you don't need, and you can move this one back literally 100 feet. And as you can see, I got it back, but I think I was getting confused because it didn't cut through the top. That's okay. Let's try it again. Although it looks like I do have a space in there now. I just can't see it. So my bad, just a little confused. Only slightly. Now this is where it will take the most time. And as you can see, Team B is about to go kind of through this, at least in an easier way. But I figured I'd do the hard one first, Team A. And as you see, it's giving me a hard time. I feel like I just drew it. Come on, man. Where'd it go? There it is. And let's wire cut it out. Of this object and this object. There we go. Wrong way. Let's go on the Z-axis. Go straight through. Might as well. Alright. Get rid of that guy. Alright. Now we got some space. Now let's say that's a window and this is a door. Keep in mind, I'm designing on the fly here. So one thing that I do want to suggest is how to make those things. So we do have an edge here, right, that we can work with. And we can use those edges to make rails or, you know, what have you. I think I already had my piece. There we go. So I can move that back, especially when you wire cut something. So we'll go ahead and make a window and a door today. But we need some dimensions. That one seems okay. You can usually get actually a pretty big window, right? Usually we say about 8 feet by 8 feet. Glass is really kind of the max that can be shipped and made effectively. But let's face it, you've seen some museums where they got like 20-foot glass, but it does cost a lot, right? So we don't try to go for the most expensive architecture, but often we realize we do. In my case, I'm going to kind of make a door off to the side. We know that a door is essentially 36 inches, usually minimum for ADA, and then also about 6 foot 8 inches, right? So we can actually make a pretty typical door. And if you don't know those sizes, look them up, right? I mean, no big deal there. We got the internet. So I have a door, or at least the cutout of a door here, and basically want to get that into position. Now that I think about it, it's probably best to kind of do this on the site, but then lock everything else, kind of like what we did here. Don't do this on the fly like I'm doing. But I want to lock all my stuff and get that aligned up pretty well. And maybe even find the view that it actually is, because that would probably help. Yeah, I'm in the wrong side. No wonder it looks wrong. Let's go to the back. There we go. So I got a door. We want to put it on the ground, right? But we want to put it exactly on the ground, so we could. All right, we can move that. I can hold shift so that I know that it doesn't move laterally. Make sure that it hits the ground. And now it's gone. But if you accidentally do miss something, we can find it again and go, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. But at least it's on the ground now. So now I can shift that door around. Maybe even go into rendered mode. There it is. Kind of wanted the door on this side. Okay. Wire cut. Piece. Go straight through it. In my case, not the Z direction. Whee! Do we want a door on the other side? Why not? Let's get a door on the other side. I used to have a friend who would just take this and he'd rotate it. Kind of genius, actually. And he'd go, look, door. It does get the point across, right? However, normally in architecture, we show open doors, right? Or in a three-dimensional view, we usually show them closed. It's kind of weird. On floor plans, open, and 3D models, closed. I've never really understood that, but it is kind of a graphic standard. So, I think the easiest way to make a door is honestly to just take this piece and go back a little bit. I mean, especially if I was pressed for time, and let's face it, how many times have you been pressed for time in studio? A lot, right? Effectively the easiest way to make a door. Now, if I was actually modeling this and I really wanted to get some nice clarity to it, this bad boy right here, copy. Just because we used it and we already have that dimension, as you can see, screen recording in rendering mode is really slowing down my computer. Let's close that. And maybe that too. Hopefully go a little faster. It's trying. In my case, just make a frame, right? So I could literally pipe this, but I don't necessarily want it to be a circle, so we'll just draw a frame. Typical frame is a 2x4, so we'll go with 2 inches, enter 4 inches, right? We'll get something out of it. We'll take that piece, move it. Now mine actually looks slightly off.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that?
I think it's that thing.
Can't really tell. Although I could rotate it just in case it, you know, maybe I do have a slightly off door. Parent intersection. Well, man, it still looks a little off. Let's see what's going on there. Oh no, it really is on the same. Oh, look at that. It's a little unlevel. Now, it really doesn't make a difference for what we're about to do, but yeah, that's super annoying. So I'd want to go to the top. I'd probably just redraw it, right? I mean, who's gonna sit there and like notice that one? I just draw a new one. 4 inches, 2 inches, right? Not a big deal. What's kind of nice is we can move that back to a decent position. Eventually you start to know your model more than I do of Matthews right now. So you shouldn't have as much confusion as I have, but I kind of like doing it live because, let's face it, probably the most real that you can get. Where'd it go though? Oh, there it is. It went to the top. It's okay. Actually, we can use it up there too, now that I think about it. Alright, so I basically just want to sweep those two. I'll take this piece and that piece and make a door frame, right? Now it is, actually I want to see what it does at the corner. Let's see what it does. I don't know. So we'll take the rail, take the piece, enter. That might not work, went the wrong way. Try again, rail first, profile, enter, direction, enter. Yeah, it worked on one side and I was thinking it would, but it won't get the other side. So we just need to slightly move it.
To the bottom?
Honestly, anywhere but the corners. It's very weird. Sweep, rail, and profile. And for some reason it gets it. I don't know what it is. But what is nice about that is it does start to look more or less like a frame. Now you'll notice that it's probably kind of all together there. It doesn't make a huge deal until you start making 2D and you start drawing some other lines and things like that, so be aware for sure. But arguably looking much more like a door, right? Now some doors are fancy, they're glass, they've got openings, or you know, like our door is almost entirely glass. So maybe I do want to do something like that. Best way to do it, again, I always copy and place. It's just kind of my thing, if you will, because very often we offset a lot of things. So I'll take that piece, quite literally Boolean difference it, or Boolean split. Sometimes, in this case, the piece is so thin, I'm gonna just thicken it up just in case. And Boolean split. So that one, enter. Get rid of the piece we don't need. And I got a lot of pieces in there. What the hell? I'm always selecting the wrong piece, man. There we go. Where the hell's the hole? Did I accidentally move the wrong one? I may have. Let's get that piece back. There we go. Boolean split. Oh, you just can't see it? No? Oh, what the hell's going on? What happened?
So like you extruded that right there, and it made two different pieces. That little middle box, you extruded so it made two different ones. So whenever you're trying to, oh there you go.
Well, it's like I didn't go all the way through or something. Damn it.
Right there.
I know. Today's off. Off day. It's alright. See what's going on the other side. We can technically go inside, but as you can see, I don't have a very large space. So it is kind of hard to look at. I mean, either way, we got a model door. And when in doubt, just move it out of the place. Ah, do I have another box in there? Is that what's going on?
I don't think it's open yet.
There we go. I had a whole nother box in there, that's why. Anyway, now we can take this piece. We could explode it and just turn this into glass. Alright, so we'll take this surface. Keep in mind there's probably two surfaces to it. We don't necessarily have to make it glass thin, but we could. I'll essentially go into a rendered mode.
Use that plastic.
Oh, I can see it. And we'll just give it some transparency. I might actually have some glass already, but that's okay. In my case, you could go with glass. Often I give it a slight blue tint just for effect. And, didn't seem to change it. I don't know. Screen recording does do weird things to my computer, but typically it works. There's a lot going on there. When in doubt, just shoot. You could, right? I mean, you could. Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of parts in here. Oh, I exploded it. Yeah, be careful when you explode. It's all tiny little pieces. So let me delete that before I explode it. There we go. No, it still exploded. Let's go back a couple times. There we go. I guess I just didn't cut all the way through when I did the Boolean split. I think you're right on that one. But it does look like a door. Good enough for government work, as they say. But I still do want to make that colored. Come on, man. You're embarrassing me, computer. Let's get out of rendered. Let's try that again. Rectangle. I guess I could just get that dimension, but I thought I already had it. There it is. Well, we're about to do the same thing actually to the window. Second try. Let's get a window. Obviously, what we need here is instead of a frame is mullions. So kind of a frame, but an inner frame. So in my case, typically I just draw that right on there, but I can't today because I'm in the wrong view. There it is. So we'll take that piece, and sometimes you can actually use a little bit of both. There we go. Fantastic. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Offset, typical mullion size. You can actually even measure these ones, but it's about 2 inches. Kind of like the 2x4. It's really usually 1.5. by 6. So in my case, I'm going to offset that, kind of an inner thickness. So we'll go 2 inches for today. And just make sure that we actually click on the inside. Man, I do not know what's going on with my computer today. Offset. Do it in the right view, 2 inches, wonderful. So you can see, kind of getting that frame, if you will. So now I can take both of these, extrude. What the hell is going on, man? Excuse my French today. It's like not even extruding. Weird. Let's try this again. Extrude. And there it goes. Okay. We'll go with like a 3-inch mullion. Not too shabby. We can take that piece now and move it slightly back, maybe 2 or 3 inches. To kind of give it that mullion effect. Right. Not too shabby. However, I'd probably want to draw some more mullions before I extrude. So we'll go back to that view. Take a line. Actually, this is probably, since I have so many things in here, this is where I usually draw it off to the side. So I'd go 100 feet. So again, just some measurement that I know. And let's say I got some crazy mullions today. I don't know, I'm tired of messing up today, so I want some crazy mullions. Ah, that's a little too crazy. We'll go with a general mullion, kind of in the middle. And then, maybe something like that, right? You've probably seen something like that before. I'm going to go ahead and offset them. We'll go with 1 inch, because I kind of need both sides. Boop. Right, that way we can actually use these as center lines. I accidentally got a foot involved. My bad. I was thinking I was doing an inch. There we go. Thank you for the patience today, guys. This is normally why I practice first, but you know what? I felt like I could do it today. But essentially, I want to trim that, right? I want to almost develop a very unique profile. Right? Basically, trimming off what I don't need. I know that's pretty hard to see, so let's change that. There we go. But essentially, getting rid of the rest of the profile. Now, this is where the work does get kind of minute, right? Obviously, you don't want to just start making a window. That way you don't particularly have to do this again. So definitely start with the threshold, but I'm just moving on to kind of demonstrate how else you would model it, right? I'm not expecting actually windows yet for this next step, but again, might be useful, right? Especially if you're trying to get a point across. So we'll take this piece. That's looking pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and connect it so I don't lose any pieces. So join. And we should get pretty solid pieces. Uh-oh. Something didn't cut there. And something didn't cut there. I don't know. Something's off today, man. Maybe it's me? Probably me. But I don't know. I keep joining stuff, nothing happens. I keep extruding stuff, and it just doesn't even work. Not sure what's going on. That's okay. Computers do that. Move. Let's go 100 feet. And place it right back. Back where we started. Although it looks like it lost that line. What happened? Let's try again. Is it locked? What's going on here? What does it look like in perspective? Sometimes we need a different vantage point. The fuck is that? Why is it way over there? Seriously though. Yeah, what's going on? It's like gone. There's like nothing there. Again, this is why you don't always screen record. Oh. It looks like it went to my original C-plane, but then like some pieces didn't, but it doesn't show those pieces. Anyway, I'm very confused, but that's okay. At least we can see it in this view. And if we could, right, I don't have to panic. I don't have to start over. make 2D of that particular view. Now getting it back to the spot is kind of a pain and a half, but alright, at least we got our flat piece. Not sure what's going on, guys. Seriously. It's kind of, it's a new one for me. But let's get this into position. Let's kind of flip it back around. That's okay. It's one of those things too, it's like sometimes you don't always get an answer. Because it's there, but it's just missing the pieces. It's weird. Anyway. No time to worry. Let's get that spot.
It does that, right? It eventually gets like super slow.
Yeah.
Like it won't let you zoom in fully.
Yeah, it definitely does that. And your best friend is definitely zoom selected, or even the command zoom extends.
Why does it even do that?
You know, I'm not sure actually. That's a really good question. It's like the seaplane question for a long time. I was like, what is that thing? But as you can see now when I extrude it, it's correct again. So we'll go with 2 inches. And as you can see, not too shabby. Starting to look somewhat quote-unquote architectural. But even for a massing model, some professors, they do expect the thresholds. They do expect to want to see where the windows are, where the openings are, and those kinds of things. I'm going to leave it pretty open. We should definitely see the masses. We should definitely see some mass and void relationship going on. So for instance, mass versus void relationship, for sure, right? But if you wanted to take it a step further, we could start getting the I-beams. We could start thinking about the vertical planes or walls. We could start thinking about the thresholds, right, or cuts or windows. And we could start thinking about the way that we get in, or the way that it looks when we get in. Sorry, I'm gonna model this at home and make it a lot better. But I did want to go over foundation, but as you can see, kind of a faux foundation going on right now. Not super important that we make one. What time is it? We're making this kind of a long one, so let's end it on a good note. Let's make a foundation. Arguably, again, kind of the exact same method. So if I had a polyline, let's say my foundation was like this, maybe something like that. I don't know, maybe it's weird like that too. I'm going to take an offset of 12 inches. When in doubt, offset 12 inches, right? I'll basically take this piece. Let's go to shaded. Let's find that piece. You know, it's probably because I messed with my C-plane. Now that I think about it, all the weirdness. Typical foundation, about 18 inches thick. So we'll go with something like that. Good thing I have that offset piece, because basically I can move it in, maybe even down 6 inches, you know, for the thickness of that floor. So right here, better vantage view of that. So we'll move it, maybe 6 inches. Not too shabby. And a couple things, you can either turn it into a box, right? Or, dang it, keep accidentally putting stuff inside other stuff. There we go. We'll extrude or wire cut. You could do actually, I think a wire cut from inside actually. Maybe today's not the day to test things, but nice. You can wire cut from inside a box now. But as you can see, we could really start to think about the way we model something, because right now I've got a foundation with, you know, actually those pieces. And what's great about that is if we do our clipping plane and we start making floor plans and sections, you can actually start to see what that looks like in section. Starting to look more like a footing, foundation. And we can start building those walls. We can really start modeling everything by just simply using a subtraction method. Now, just to recap, right, in terms of all the hectic craziness, we went over the method, right, taking an abstraction model, repositioning, re-abstracting, re-proportioning some of the elements to create a mass and void relationship. We also thought about moving the grid system in order to actually abide or maybe even hold up potentially some of these spaces or objects. We also went over a a lot of errors in terms of finding yourself in terms of the model. But we went over essentially how to make some doors by framing the outside and framing the inside using sweep 1 and wire cut. So again, a lot of the same exact tools that we used in the first 3 and 4 assignments. The next thing that we went over is the window, which is the inner frame, that mullion system, but the fact that we can actually draw profiles just like we did in stairs. And not to cover stairs again today, but you could also even start to think about how you vertically get through this place, right? If I wanted to take it a step further, I'd actually probably turn this into vertical circulation. But what starts to be wildly different about this method is normally in studio, what do? We draw a floor plan, we draw a section, and we essentially combine those in order to make a three-dimensional object. However, here you'll notice that I went literally right into the 3D model. We started sculpting. We started actually changing our vantage point, maybe looking at it a little bit differently. And no, I didn't quite call these all out loud. I started to potentially see the spaces, the volumes that were potentially inside of those larger volumes that I abstracted with. Not to make that an absolute word salad, but hopefully helpful. I see some heads. I do apologize for the mistakes I've run into, but kind of glad because it does show you how to get out of it, how to fix it, and you know, some of the things that are good to do and not to do, right? Like putting some objects back together, which will need to happen for some of those. But anyway, I'm going to continue this. This has been part 2. I'm definitely going to do a part 3 on this one as well. So any major questions or just thoughts that came up for particularly my A team that they want to see modeled as well?
Good.
Fair enough. We'll keep it there for today.